Hello friends, this presentation today is on event planning. It's designed for larger events, but even small events can benefit from the information that's presented here. My name is Judy Hills. I'm the president of the Friends of the North Carolina Public Libraries, and I'll be doing your presentation today. There are many types of events that we could put on as friends, other than just a book sale. And perhaps you've tried some of these, and maybe you're getting ready to try some of these. So we hope that this information today is going to be useful to you. You could use this information to present a small workshop, your annual meeting. It could be an informational or educational type of meeting. It could be a fundraiser. It could be a gala or a special event or a party or a celebration of some sort. There's any number of types of events that you can use this information for. General considerations. The larger and more complex the event, the more time is going to be needed to organize. You might need 6 months or more for a huge event like a major fundraiser or a gala, where you might only need 4 to 6 months for a moderate-sized event. And you want to scale this list that you're going to hear about today according to the complexity of your event. This presentation is for an in-person event, so some elements will work for online events as well, but it's primarily designed for in-person. Hopefully now that COVID is somewhat under control, we may be to the point where we are able to have the in-person events again. If this event is not already in your organization's plan of work and budget, you need to get proper approvals. You need a chair or an organizer, or perhaps even a committee if it's a large enough event. You need to establish goals and objectives. What is it that you hope to achieve with this event? Are you looking for, cash donations? Are you looking for support? Are you just looking for more recognition of your name? What is it that you hope to accomplish? Select the date. You want to check various community calendars for any conflicts, any holidays, or any other events. You don't want to rain on somebody else's parade, nor do you want another organization to have a major event on the same date that you are, because that might be detrimental to both of your events. You want to determine the number of attendees and the possible attendance that you might achieve, because that will drive the selection of the venue. How big or how small do you think it needs to be? And also the type of events. If you're going to have, let's say, a hoedown, you're going to be looking for a barn. But if you're going to be holding, a very fancy gala with alcohol, then you probably want a convention center. So give it some thought as far as the place should suit the type of event that you're going to hold. And determine if the event will have any financial sponsors and assign the levels that you need. Other general considerations include identify the venue and negotiate the details. What kind of space are you going to need? Are they going to require you to have insurance, or do they provide insurance for the event? Is there going to be alcohol? Okay, if they are, then who's going to get the license to serve it? Equipment, would that be provided by the venue, or are you required to provide it? Are they just providing the space and you have to get all the tables and chairs? You got to know that, because that's going to be an extra expense for your event. Do they have a list of approved vendors? You might have a caterer that you want to use, but maybe it's not on their approved vendor list. Are you going to have a contract? And if you are, who's going to sign it and who's authorized to negotiate it? You want to establish a budget, cost estimates, provide details, and it's better to overestimate than it is to underestimate, especially when you're talking about expenses. Maybe underestimate your attendance and overestimate your expenses, and maybe hopefully you'll come out just about right. You need to figure in the facility or room rental, beverages and food, equipment and furnishings, any speaker fees, honorariums, and any travel costs that they might have. And then they're going to charge you for. They might even charge you for things like copies, event insurance, advertising, publicity, and printing. Well, if any of that's going to cost you anything, you need to build that in. The swag, stuff we all get, inexpensive giveaways. Are you going to do that? Signage for the event. You may have to have things printed for both inside and outside. Miscellaneous items like door prizes, tickets, name tags, handouts, a photographer, all those things cost money, and you need to be prepared to include those expenses in your budget. Then you're going to have to work with your treasurer to figure out how you're going to handle income and dispersals, credit card payments, anything else regarding the event that you need to work out with the treasurer as far as handling money. Identify and confirm potential partners and collaborators and connect with them. Identify and confirm speakers, presenters, entertainers, and have an alternative plan for any last minute cancellations. It does happen, so you need to figure out, hey, if it started to snow and your speaker can't get there from where they live, then you need to figure out what your alternative is going to be. And determine if you're going to use an event registration software. There are many good ones out there. Some of them are inexpensive and others are more expensive depending on the range of services that you're going to require from them. You want to brand the event, build a website or face page maybe around the event, develop an event logo and a tagline. This is especially if it's a big deal. Those make it look like it's a polished event, and that works in your favor when you're asking big dollars for the tickets. Create a publicity plan for it. Lay out when you have to submit what material and in what format and on what date. If it's going to be open to the public, you need to create and distribute flyers. You've got to figure out the media that could send press releases to, although I don't know in your area, but we're having more and more difficulty getting our local newspaper particularly to use any information that we send them via press releases, so you might need to figure out a workaround. Post to online calendars, community calendars that are in your area. Use social media messaging and arrange for the sale of tickets if that's what you're doing. 3 to 4 months ahead of this big event, you want to finalize any speaker, presenter, entertainer expectations, get their bio and their information and a photo, make travel and accommodation arrangements if you're doing it or if they're doing it. If appropriate, have contracts and agreements signed. Ask the speaker, presenter, entertainer to help promote the event. A lot of them have their own networks. They have their own Facebook pages, their own websites. Maybe they can help you sell the event through their network. And finalize any details on payment. How and when and are you going to accomplish that? The finance end of it, determine registration ticket fees, set up and enable the registration online or however else you're going to handle it. Solidify the sponsorships and collect any money from those sponsors if it's a cash type of arrangement. Create a spreadsheet to track all income and expenses for this event separately. That will help you determine how you did, and it will also help you make a decision in the future as to whether you run this type of event again or not. Again, 3 to 4 months ahead. You want to finalize any details with any the vendors or the venue, meals and food, AV equipment, room diagrams, furnishings, linens, water, registration areas, parking signage, security permits, licenses, insurance, accessibility issues, and communication before and during the event. Again, if it's a larger the venue, convention centers, those kind of things, they usually are very skilled and they already have formats for all of this, making your life a lot easier. But if it's a venue that doesn't do these things very often, more of the onus may be on you. And so you can't make any assumptions about these things. You've got to figure out all those details. 3 to 4 months again ahead of the event, you want to finalize and implement the publicity plan, develop a draft of the program, a draft script for the MC to use for speaker introductions. You want to determine any housekeeping issues, like you're going to tell them where the restrooms are, how to communicate messages to one another at the conference. Maybe you want to advise them about cell phone use or not. You want to issue thanks, and you want to have your closing remarks at the end. Develop publicity pieces and timeframes for releases. You don't want to release too soon because people will start forgetting, but at the same time, you want to give them enough time so that things can get on their social calendars. So newsletter articles, ads, flyers, radio spots, print posts, those kinds of things. Determine when and where you're going to release those. Create an event page on your website, and then send out an email teaser to your members at least, and other contacts that you might have. You might, again, create a Facebook event page. You might produce a promo video, which you can put on your YouTube channel or your Facebook page or even your website. List your event on community calendars. Create a social media buzz about your event. Hey, so this is happening. The Friends of the Library are holding this really cool Halloween party, and it's going to have costumes, and I think it's going to be a fun event. Come on, let's go. Order the swag, name tags, awards, anything else that you're going to need for the event. Make sure you get those ordered in plenty of time so that if there's a problem, you can deal with it before it gets too late. 1 to 2 months prior to the event, you want to start sending a reminder to your contact list regarding registration and participation. Hopefully you're tracking that registration and you're keeping a good eye on it. And if it's really lagging, you've got to figure out some method to reach out and to get those registrants to pay their money. You want to reach out to speakers, presenters, and entertainers with regard to last minute confirmation of the date and time, travel, equipment, anything that you're missing from them. If they haven't sent you their bio or their photo that you need for printing the program, make sure you get that. And you may want to also request an electronic copies of speeches or presentations. Some are willing to give you those in advance, some are not. The reason I say that is because if you do that, then you can put them on a thumb drive and have them with you the day of the event. So if the presenter has any problem with their equipment, at least you've got an extra copy of that speech or presentation on, and you can help them out, work out the problem that they might be having. Finalizing any sponsorships, confirm and collect what's due. Make sure that you include their information of the sponsors on your promotional material that you'll share during the event. And ask sponsors to also help you promote the event through their channels that they use, Facebook, website, whatever. Continue to execute your publicity plan, close off any early bird ticket prices, and release the standard pricing. Finalize and proofread any materials and get it printed, and then secure the photographer if you're going to have one. It could be either a paid or a volunteer, but make sure those arrangements are made. 1 week prior to the event, the committee should meet, if you have a committee, reviewing the status, check up that backup plans are in place, make sure you have all the volunteers you need, and attend to any last minute snags that you're aware of. Finalize the event script, brief the volunteers about their event duties and timelines. You're going to wear this, you're going to meet here, these are the hours that we need you to be on site, here's where you park, etc., etc. Finalize your seating and room plans, providing final numbers to the caterer. The caterer is going to want it at least a week in advance, probably more. Print any handouts, programs, and evaluations that you might need if you haven't done so already. 1 week prior to the event, do a final reservation checklist and print the name badges if you're using them. Determine photo op and interview opportunities with any presenters and VIPs, and confirm the details with any media attendees. If you've invited, let's say, the TV people, you want to confirm that they're going to show up when and where they said they would. So 1 day before the event, again, you're going to confirm the media coverage. Hey, are you coming tomorrow? I'll meet you in the lobby at 9 o'clock. Ensure all signage is in place both inside and out. Ensure there are adequate outlets for the presenters. They might need power strips or cords. This is especially true if you're not in a place that handles these events on a routine basis. Ensure the registration table is ready and stocked, and make sure you have some blanks for any last-minute walk-ins if they're allowed to do that. Have a roster of those people that have paid, a roster of your volunteers, various checklists and sign-in forms, valuation forms, blank name badges in case anybody shows up, markers, pens, paper, tape, staplers, those kinds of things, the swag. You might even want to have a lost and found area at the registration table, and maybe you'd want to set up a message board so people could communicate with one another if it's a really big event. Ensure that all gifts, plaques, awards, trophies, speaker gifts, etc. are on site. Ensure that all the AV equipment is set up and working properly. Ensure the scripts are ready at each podium. And then take a deep breath because you're going to need it about now. So you've got this. Arrive early if you're one of the event organizers. Bring copies of everything you think you might need. You can also, if it's a very large place, you may want to have walkie-talkies to communicate with each other and with the event staff. The event staff might already have their own walkie-talkies, but there is a Zello app that you can use to communicate like a walkie-talkie if you are the only ones that are running it. So check in with the team, make sure your registration desk is manned and ready because there's a lot of flurry of activity at the beginning and a lot of extra help may be needed to make it go smooth. Assist is needed. If you're an event organizer, you want to wander around and greet the attendees, chat with them, kind of be ready to handle any issues that might come up. And at the end of the day, collect equipment, the signs, leftover materials. You may have a contractual agreement to actually clean up if it's a big, like a convention center, that's going to be built into your contract that they'll clean up, but you might end up having to clean up. So you've got to make arrangements for all of that if that's the case. So for post-event follow-up, you want to check with the venue to ensure that nothing was left behind. You want to analyze any attendee evaluation forms used. Now, if this is a one-time event, I don't think you're going to want to bother with evaluation forms because, you know, at this point it's water under the dam whether they didn't like the venue, whether they didn't like the speaker. If you don't think you're going to run this event again, it may not be worth knowing that. Financial status, you want to check with your treasurer regarding any outstanding income or expenses. You might have somebody you need to chase for money that they owe or, you know, some kind of expense, maybe a check you wrote to a vendor that hasn't been cashed yet. Turn in any receipts and payments for late registration donations to the treasurer. You want to maybe produce a final registration list. You maybe had a lot of people that checked in at the last minute. You want to receive and analyze the financial report vis-a-vis the planned budget, just to see how you did with your guesstimate. You want to collect comments and observations from the team, the meeting. You can have a meeting or you can do it via email. You want to draft a final report that includes what worked, what didn't, what could be done better, actual versus budget analysis, and any recommendations you have for the future. Like, let's say, hey, this was way too much work. I don't ever want to do this again. Or you might say, hey, this was a wonderful success. It's something that maybe we might want to consider doing again next year or the year after. You also want to send thank yous and acknowledgement letters to any sponsors, collaborating organizations, your volunteers, your speakers and presenters, your donors, and the media for their coverage of your event. It never hurts to say thank you. You cannot say it enough. It's best to do notes, handwritten if you can, but an email, at least an email, is acceptable to especially most professionals. Notes and letters should include a reminder of the success of the event and how they contributed to it. Either maybe an amount raised, maybe it increased awareness, maybe it was the total number of participants who showed up, and maybe you'd want to include some quotes from attendees that you might have overheard or that they wrote on maybe an evaluation form. Get event photos and videos from the photographer and others who might have them so that you can use them in your post-event reports and also on your website to just show how successful the event was. You might want to email your members and contact base with the highlights from the events just to say, hey, we raised X number of dollars and we had, all these people who attended who really might not have an awareness of what the Friends of the Library do. You might want to make a short video and post it to your social media about the event, or write up the event for your next newsletters and include photographs. Surely you want to do that. And you want to update the event page on your website and your Facebook page to reflect that the event was held. You don't want old information out there. If you don't want to leave the event notice up there after the event is held. Tie up any loose ends and then hold a celebration with your team. You've got to remember to acknowledge the work that people do, and you have to acknowledge your own successes as well. We so often forget to do that. We just, do all this work and then we write up our reports and then bam, we're on to the next thing. So we've got to learn to celebrate. Here's some list of resources. If you're viewing this via YouTube channel, you're not going to be able to access this, but this will be on our website in another format, and you will be able to access these there. So I leave you with a quote today. To achieve great things, two things are needed: a plan and not quite enough time. We talked a lot today about a plan. Personally, I work better under pressure, so I tend not to leave myself enough time. But for example, our last book sale, it took us forever to finally get the venue, and then the time frame was so tight for when the venue was available that we really didn't have adequate time to post it to all the print media that we usually utilize to get the message out about our book sale. So that was an example where sometimes not having quite enough time is detrimental, and sometimes it'll just make you get it done if you don't have enough time. So I invite you to review this plan and to be sure that you create your own checklists and that you do an evaluation at the very end of the program or project so that you can see how successful it was and what you achieved. And don't forget to celebrate your successes. Thanks for watching today, and good luck with your next event.